about a human being, a valuable human being. Now, maybe you didn't give a crap about him, but the community does, and his family certainly does. They will be forever without him. He will not share birthdays, holidays, graduations. There are no more hugs. There are no more celebrations with him. His family has to keep him alive by the memories he left behind, by the footprint he left behind.
Your Honor, my name is Magdalena Bonilla. I am the wife of Christopher Bonilla. I am here because his life was taken from us. My husband and I shared decades together. He came into my life when my daughter was just 2 years old and raised her as his own. Today, she is 32 years old and is the only father she ever knew. This case is not just a charge or a file number. A human life was lost. Someone who was deeply loved, relied upon, and irreplaceable. Our family will live with that loss for the rest of our lives. Since my husband's death, nothing has returned to normal. Ordinary days are no longer ordinary. Holidays, milestones, and even quiet moments are marked by his absence. Grief is constant and has permanently changed the course of our lives. The emotional impact has been severe and lasting. We live with trauma, pain, and the knowledge that his death was preventable. That reality weighs on us every single day. The financial impact also has been significant, creating instability and hardship directly tied to the offense. This loss did not just affect one person. It impacted an entire family across generations. My children lost their father. My grandchildren lost their grandfather. Our foundation as a family was shaken in a way no one can repair. Today, this court must impose a sentence, and I'm asking for firm accountability. This offense did not occur in isolation. The defendant's criminal history reflects a repeated disregard for the law and for the safety of others. Prior involvement with the justice system did not prevent this outcome. That pattern ultimately ended with the light loss of a human life. Michigan sentencing principles require consideration of punishment, deterrence, and the protection of the public. When repeated criminal behavior escalates to fatal consequences, the sentence must reflect the seriousness of that harm and the need to prevent further danger to the community. Nothing this court does today will bring my husband back, but the sentence imposed today will speak for him in a way he no longer can. I am asking this court to make sure that his voice is clearly heard. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Your Honor.
Ma'am, you clearly spoke for him. He's standing with you. I know he's proud of you.
Thank you.
I also know that he is still with you, just in a different form. But you still hear him. And I'm so very sorry for your loss, but your strength is clear.
Thank you.
And as a family, I know you're going to come through this. I also know it's going to affect you every single day. That trauma and pain isn't going to go away. I've heard what you have to say.
Thank you.
And you should still be here.
You should.
But you're honoring him. And I thank you for your strength and being the voice, not just for him, but we have far too many victims. I have far too many families broken by gunshot. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Your Honor.
Hello. Thank you, Your Honor, for allowing me to speak today. My name is Maricela Bonilla, and I am the daughter of Christopher Bonilla. I am not here today only to speak in grief. I am here today to speak in truth. And the truth is, my father was not anyone's to take. The truth about Christopher is that he was a kind man. If you have crossed his path in everyday life, he would have treated you with respect. In a world that was often turned its back on people, my dad showed compassion. The truth about me is that when I heard the news, I didn't cry at first. I listened for him. I made a promise that I would fight for him, that I would show up no matter how hard it was. I promised that I would never let him feel alone. My family and I were always his strength. We were the ones who stood beside him when life became heavy. This crime did not just take my dad's life, it changed every part of mine. There is not a day that goes by where I do not feel his absence, in the quiet moments, in the milestones he will never get to see, in the phone calls I can no longer make. I carry grief, anger, and heartbreak all at once. But more than anything, I carry the love I had for my dad and the pain of losing him in a way that should never have happened. The person Christopher was, his kindness, his presence, his role in our family can never be replaced. Thank you, Your Honor. I ask that you consider the depth of the harm caused, not only to my dad, but to everyone who loved him and depended on him. Christopher Bonilla mattered, his life mattered, and the impact of his loss will stay with us forever. Thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Well, you've honored your father, and I promise you, and I can't promise much, but I promise you he walks with you every day, and he is part of all of those things you want him to be part of. So just know that he's with you, you've honored him, you are his voice, and at some point you'll be reunited, but I agree with you, you should not have been taken. I've heard what you have to say, and I appreciate your strength, the strength that you all share, and that he was part of giving you. And you've honored that.
Thank you. Kristen Bonilla, KRISTINBONILLA.
Thank you. What would you like me to know?
Your Honor, my name is Kristen Bonilla, and I am here to speak on behalf of my family and myself about the loss of my father, who was shot and killed in February of last year. My dad was not just another person whose life was taken. He was our everything. He was a dad, a friend, a brother, a cousin, an uncle, a son, a husband, and most importantly, a grandfather. That title grandfather was something he was truly the best at. It brought out a side of him that not everyone got to see. To his grandchildren, he was gentle, playful, patient, and full of unconditional love. He adored them, and they adored him right back. To someone who didn't know him, my dad might have looked intimidating at first glance, but he was a gentle teddy bear. He had the biggest heart. He was the kind of man who would be there for anyone, even a stranger. There was a saying that he'll give you the shirt off his back, and that was genuinely who my dad was. He was giving, selfless, and always willing to help, no matter the cost to himself. My father was funny, honest, and a hard worker. He took pride in providing for his family and protecting the people he loved. But more than anything else, he was loyal. Loyal to his family, loyal to his friends, and loyal to the people he cared about. He loved his kids deeply and unconditionally. He never questioned whether we were loved. We never questioned whether we were loved. We felt it every single day through his actions. Since his death, the impact on our family has been devastating. He was our provider and our protector. He was the glue that held our family together. Before this happened, we were incredibly close. So tight that it felt like nothing and no one could ever tear us apart. But losing him did. Without my dad, everything has fallen apart, and we are left trying to survive in a world that feels completely different without him in it. The pain of his absence is constant. Holidays, birthdays, and everyday moments are now filled with a void that can never be replaced. His grandchildren will grow up missing the grandfather who loved them so fiercely. His children are left navigating life without the man who was always there to guide, protect, and support. This loss is permanent. Our family will carry this grief for the rest of our lives, and the love he gave us will stay with us forever. Thank you for allowing me to speak for my father.
Thank you. Well, you've honored him, but let me just tell you, I know he's not here, but he still is your protector. He's your guardian angel. As I said earlier, he's walking with all of you. And I know you say you're all broken, things are different, but you're going to emerge stronger and more together. And you will all keep him alive for the grandchildren by sharing all those wonderful times and memories and history, because that's important to them. It's also important to you. And every time you share a story, you know he's with you. And at some point, although now you may cry while you're telling the story, you'll find joy and peace in his memory and sharing all that greatness that he brought into your life and into our community. And I'm so very sorry for the loss you all have suffered and our community has suffered. We need good people. We need them to be here and not be taken down by gunfire.
Exactly.
So he left y'all with big hearts and love, and he is still sharing that with you. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
The defendant filed a sentencing memorandum in this case that did nothing but sully the character of the victim in this matter. But let's talk about the defendant. The defendant made a choice on February 16th, 2025, when he left his house with a gun he was not supposed to have because he was a felon, put that gun in his waistband, walked into a strip club, and decided to drink the night away. What good is going to happen or come of drinking the night away when a felon has a gun tucked away in his waistband? As everyone knows, emotions get high. You may see someone that you may have a beef with, and that's exactly what happened. And what he did was bring a gun to a fist fight. Instead of walking away, instead of learning what he learned in prison when he did his prison term for witness intimidation on a case he wasn't even involved in, for a murder where he beat up a witness from a first-degree murder case that he had nothing to do with, he pulled the gun out in a fist fight, and he shot Christopher Bonilla in the stomach. And instead of standing there and providing any type of assistance or calling the police or doing anything that he could, like an actual victim would have done, he picked up his gun that shot what seems to be rifle rounds, and he walked calmly out of the building, stuffing the pistol back into his waistband, got into a car and left the scene. And where, by chance, is that gun? Where has that gun ever gone? It's never been found. He never called the police. He never did anything to help the situation. That is not how a victim acts. Yet, this person who wants to fancy himself as a victim and sully the reputation of Christopher Bonilla in a sentencing memorandum doesn't want to make a statement on his own behalf. Very telling, Your Honor. We have a family that has lost their patriarch, their cornerstone of their family. And all because of what? Because of a decision that Adrian Wilkerson, Dirty is what his name is, that's how everybody knows him, Dirty, made a decision that day. He made a decision to put a pistol in his waistband when he wasn't allowed to. Things any grown adult should know better than to walk into a strip club with a pistol in your waistband. So I would ask that Your Honor take those statements from the victim's family into account when you're forming your sentence in this case, because though this is a plea to a manslaughter and a felony firearm, I think those are huge issues that we have here, and I think that the defendant has to understand that that's not how normal people operate in our community. And I would ask that Your Honor follow the guidelines and sentence the defendant to 144 months to 360 months on count 7 and consecutive to the 24 months in count 6.
Your Honor, there's no denying that we're faced with a difficult decision in this matter and a difficult set of circumstances. We have a family that lost a loved one that they'll never be able to get back. And my client is going to be spending a significant amount of time in prison as a result of his actions. Now, the probation department and the prosecution has made a recommendation for 144 months in this matter for the manslaughter charge. We respectfully disagree with that recommendation, as we do feel that that ignores the facts of the case and the history and characteristics of my client as well, Your Honor. Now, I did file a sentencing memorandum and detailed a lot of what occurred in this matter, and I think that it's undisputed as to what happened during this incident, Your Honor. My client is at a bar or a nightclub, and while there, he's sucker punched. And then he's attacked by multiple people from multiple angles. There was no one coming to his defense. Security at the club was not coming to break this fight up. And yes, my client is a felon, and he was wrong, and he had a firearm. It was illegal for him to do that. And in the midst of this attack, he shot and killed Christopher Bonilla, Your Honor. It's on video. We can't run from those facts. We can't hide from it. That is what happened on this night. But I think it's important because when my client left from home, he never in his mind envisioned what was going to be happening this night. He never thought that he'd be using his firearm. He never thought that he would be attacked and sucker punched in the club. And he didn't know that there was someone who was holding a vendetta against him. Your Honor, for the last several years, my client has been living his life the right way. He removed himself from negative influences and the street lifestyle. Mr. Wilkerson he successfully did what we want all prior offenders to do. He reformed. And
How did he reform, counsel, when he violated the law where he couldn't have a weapon? Let's start from there. I understand what you're doing and it is your job and you're doing it very well, but let's be very clear. His reformation included violating the law by carrying a weapon into a bar.
And for that, Your Honor, he is wrong. He had a firearm. He wasn't supposed to have one. But when we focus on the other aspects of his life, this is someone who had no education, who took it upon himself to go out and earn a general education degree. This is someone who had no skills or training, took it upon himself to earn a commercial driver's license. He was working, he was doing everything the right way. And in fact, my client had confided in me that he hadn't been out to a nightclub since he was released from prison. This was the first night that he had went out. All that he did was focused on his family and his work. He worked 2 jobs around the clock, driving a truck up and down the state of Michigan and throughout the various parts of the country. He worked on the weekends here at another job in the Lansing community. He was doing everything that he could, and his family was proud of him because he did a complete 180 with his life, Your Honor. And I feel for that, he should be given some credit. Yes, we have a serious case in this matter. An individual lost their life, but I don't think that we should completely ignore everything that my client did to reform.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I don't think we should ignore everything that my client did to reform and rehabilitate himself. He made a mistake, and I don't think that he's worth us just giving up on, Your Honor. Now, the prosecution had made some arguments about my client declining to provide a statement to the probation department. My client has an absolute right to remain silent, and he declined to make a statement to the probation department on the advice of counsel. He should not be penalized for that. He came into court and he made a factual basis about what occurred that night, Your Honor. I think in light of all the circumstances and everything that did occur on this night, my client's history and characteristics, as well as the history and characteristics of the victim in this matter, Your Honor, we would be asking the court for a sentence of 60 months for the manslaughter.
Sir, let me just remind you, you pled to count 1, homicide, manslaughter, with the habitual third. It is punishable by up to 30 years, and count 2, weapons, felony, firearms is 2 years preceding the sentence that I will give you on count 1. And counsel, I respect what you had to say, and you have a job to do. However, he pled guilty. It wasn't no contest. He doesn't have a right to remain silent, but once he has pled, I'm unclear how being accountable is something that he chooses to do. Sir, do you wish to make a statement or not?
Yes.
What would you like us to know?
I would like to begin by expressing how truly sorry I am for what happened last February. I know that looking at my criminal history is easy to make an assumption of who I am. And Your Honor, I'm disappointed in myself because I'm back in a position I promised myself and my mother that I would never be in again. My last criminal offense was over 10 years ago. I changed everything about who I am and who I was. I earned my GED, I earned a CDL, and was going through therapy, self-admitted. For once, everything in my life was going great. Then in February of last year, I went out with the intentions to just unwind, but I never envisioned that I would be attacked. I'm so far removed from that life that the thought of being sucker punched and then being jumped just wasn't even in the realm of reality for me. I regret that a life was lost, and for that I am sorry. I'm not proud of this. This is something I have to live with, something I've been living with, something that I am one day going to have to answer to God for. Regardless of how this incident unfolded, who was drunk and who was the aggressor. I am sorry for the role I played in it. And I pray that the family can one day find it in their hearts to forgive me. And I ask that the court takes everything from this case into consideration. I'm asking for leniency, mercy. Thank you.
I have no leniency and no mercy to give you, because what I see is an escalation. What I see is someone who has said, I've done all of these great things, and so I want you to give me credit for violating the law, carrying a gun into a bar and firing twice into a human who dies. Could have fired into the ceiling. That would have scared everybody. That would have been a cry for help, if that's what you needed. But taking a gun to a fist fight doesn't work. You were a felon, you knew you couldn't have a weapon, you chose to drink, you had control of your life, how much you drank, and whether or not you took an unlawful gun with you. So all of these great things that you did and that everybody's so proud of gets erased by carrying a weapon concealed unlawfully on your person in a bar where you drink. So your decision-making is clouded by the alcohol. But it was already clouded having no alcohol when you put that unlawful weapon into your waistband without the proper license or authority, and then you use it on a human being, a valuable human being. Now, maybe you didn't give a crap about him, but the community does, and his family certainly does. They will be forever without him. He will not share birthdays, holidays, graduations. There are no more hugs. There are no more celebrations with him. His family has to keep him alive by the memories he left behind, by the footprint he left behind. Your sorry doesn't cut it for me. You do not just have one or two crimes. You have, what, 7 felonies? And what, another 7, 6 or 7, let's see, 6 felonies prior, now it's 7, and 5 prior misdemeanor. What haven't you learned those other 13 times you were before a judge? If anybody speaks out anymore, the officer will take you into custody. It is contempt. 93 days jail and or $7,500 is contempt. I don't care about the money, but you'll have 93 days in our hotel in Mason. So I expect a quiet courtroom. I don't know where your counseling went wrong. I don't know where all these good deeds went wrong, but they didn't go far enough. You need some significant time behind bars so that when you are out, the rest of us can be assured that maybe you learned your lesson and you can keep us all safe. There's a man who will not be able to have conversations with his family. You'll be behind bars, but you can still see your family and they can send you pictures and they can come visit you. Unlike the man who was loved that you took down. As to count 1, homicide, manslaughter, you are sentenced to 171 months to 360 months. 0 credit days. You will pay private assessment in the amount of $130 and a $68 state cost. As to count 2, weapons, felony, firearms, you will serve 24 months with credit for 402 days that you've already served. That time will be served consecutive with and preceding count 1, which technically is count 6. And count 7, I think we need to change that on the cover page. You will pay a $68 state cost. You'll also pay $8,000 in restitution to the Crime Victims Fund to repay that for the restitution they paid to the family of the victim. The restitution will be paid first, and the Crime Victims Assessment and the state costs will be held in abeyance until he's released. I want the restitution paid first. While you are incarcerated, you will participate in cognitive behavioral, trade school. Anything else you would like him to participate in?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I'm sure the Department of Corrections will have other programming for you, sir. I believe that this punishment, given the circumstances, the escalation, and the thoughtlessness that went into bringing a gun, an illegal gun, into a bar, being drunk and firing it against a punch or two or three. I believe this punishment is sufficient and proportional. It speaks to the necessary continued rehabilitation of defendant. Hopefully it deters others and protects society. There are far too many illegal weapons and people who decide they want to be all powerful and excuse their actions away by carrying a gun. You have 42 days to appeal and to request appellate counsel. Please give him his appellate rights. The form should be right in front of you, sir. Is there anything else on behalf of the people?
No, thank you.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Sir, that's the form you used if you would like to appeal. Additionally, I should say there'll be no contact with the family of the victim. You understand that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you acknowledge receiving your appellate rights?
Under Michigan compiled laws, Section 750.321 and Section 750.227B, the defendant entered a guilty plea to 1 count of manslaughter with habitual offender, 3rd enhancement, and 1 count of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. The court applied Michigan sentencing guidelines, scoring prior record variables and offense variables, including intent to cause great bodily harm. Based on these calculations, the guideline range supported a substantial custodial sentence. The court imposed a term of 171 months to 360 months imprisonment for manslaughter. In addition, a mandatory consecutive sentence of 24 months was ordered for the felony firearm conviction to be served prior to the manslaughter term. The court further ordered restitution in the amount of $8,000 payable to the Crime Victim Compensation Fund pursuant to Michigan compiled laws Section 780.766. Additional statutory costs and assessments were imposed. The sentence reflects consideration of proportionality, defendant's prior criminal history, escalation of conduct, and the statutory objectives of punishment, deterrence, and protection of the public.